Hello, friends. We now invite you to join us for the Animation Academy. Please welcome your sketch artist, Lon Smart.
Woo!
Welcome to the Festival, International Festival of the Arts. Is everyone getting inspired, seeing some fun artwork out there that you haven't seen before? Enjoying it? Enjoying this beautiful weather? My gosh, it's nice to have a nice, cool little change for a while. So anyways, my name is Lon Smart. I've been an artist for Disney about 30 years. Worked for Disney Animation. Worked on pretty much every film from Lion King all the way through Princess and the Frog. We're talking about 12 movies. I've also worked for live entertainment and Imagineering, doing lots of character art for the parks. As a matter of fact, for the 50th anniversary, I helped design all 50 of the statues that are decorating the park throughout for the event. Oh, thank you. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to draw the characters. And I'm not just going to teach you how to draw a character. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to teach you how to draw so you can draw any character. So what we're going to do though is we're going to use, the first film that I worked on was The Lion King. So we're going to teach you how to draw Simba. Now, whenever we draw a character, we use model sheets. So this here is what we call a model sheet. And it's basically the character in a lot of different poses and different expressions, so we can kind of see how the character's done. Now, if you don't have access to a model sheet, you can just watch the movie. There's literally 50,000 drawings per film. What a great reference. And especially if you have Disney Plus for only $7.99 a month, you can have all the films. And I use it a lot, trust me. It's not just you. I watched Disney Plus. I was like, I gotta watch Lady and the Tramp to get some references. You know, it's a great reference to the resource. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw something and then you're gonna follow along. So watch what I do first and then repeat it. We're gonna draw really lightly. We're not gonna get really heavy with our pencil. Who's gonna be drawing along? Let's see some hands. All right, great. So what we're gonna ask is when you're done, hey, welcome back. When you're done, we're going to ask you to drop off your pencils if you don't want to keep your pencils. Great, still here. But if you don't want to keep it, we're going to ask one of the cast members in the back have baskets. You can just return those pencils along with the clipboard and keep those back. You can have the drawing, of course. Okay, so we're going to start out really light and sketchy. And we're going to bounce back and forth between the model sheets. So what we can do is we're going to look and learn, study, study, study. That's how you're going to get better. Even, who's the artist who did, who's the artist who did the Mona Lisa? That was Leonardo da Vinci. Even when he painted Mona Lisa, he looked at Mona Lisa. He didn't draw her from memory. So we're going to do the same thing. Now, if we notice with Simba here, he actually is kind of angular. So we're going to reference back and forth to this. And this is how you draw any of the characters. So what we're going to do is we're going to, right here in the middle of our page, really lightly sketch in a circle. Now watch what I do first, okay? And then we're going to do it. So see how much of the page I'm filling up here? Real light and sketchy. Because we're going to get darker with our lines later on. And then these light lines are just going to go invisible. So we're going to start out with a circle, or it's more of a sphere, like a basketball. We're thinking 3 dimensionals. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to figure out where we want him to look. Now we're actually going to push his face over to the side just a bit. So we are going to draw a center line right here, which is a little curve. And also we are going to draw a center line here at the bottom of the circle. And this is already going to basically set up where he's going to be facing. He's going to be facing this way over our right shoulder, just a little bit. So, okay, I did it. You go ahead and do it. Okay. Now, if you notice, he's got a muzzle shape here, which is a solid mass. So what we're going to do is we're going to sketch in another little shape right here. Just to kind of start filling it up. We're thinking as like it's clay almost, right? We're sculpting it through sketchy lines. So right around here, that's basically where his muzzle is going to go. And if we want to start thinking 3-dimensionally with this, we can even drop in a little indication of center line right up front of that. Okay, I always start out with the nose because again it shows the direction. And his nose is like a flat diamond shape. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this up here. Right here. No, don't draw yet. Look how big it is here compared to the rest of his head too. It's about maybe, if I take that nose and I duplicated it 3 times, it's actually going to wrap around the head. So this nose tip here is about 1/3 of the entire length of his head. So we're going to try to keep that in mind. And don't worry if it's not perfect at this point. When we darken in these lines, we can start fixing proportions and you'll start to see the character take shape a bit more too. Okay? Now what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and jump to the eyes. Okay, now again, look at these eyes and see how big they are within the shape of the head. And about 3, maybe you can almost shove one of these eye shapes right here between the two. That's how we're going to know how far apart to put them. So as he's looking off to the side here, I'm going to lay in the distance between the two. Actually, again, if you notice, that distance between the eyes is also about the distance of the nose. Looking and learning, studying and studying. You're going to be able to draw any character you want for this. So that's going to be our distance between the two. And if you look, this is what we call a mask. Right outside the eye here, this little shape, that's what we call an eye mask. So we're going to draw that eye mask. That eye mask is going to look like this. It's going to be the highest in the center, and it's going to drop down. And it's going to then wrap around. Stay on that center line. Looks like they're really big sunglasses. All right, now we're going to actually take another line in the center here. You notice there's a little bit of an indication at the top of his nose. I'm just going to lightly sketch in just where the bridge of his nose is going to be, even though we might not even see it in the final piece. Now, in the center of the eye here is where we're going to draw his the eye mask, where we're going to draw his actual eye. So I'm going to draw a line here that's just above the bottom of the mask. That's going to be where the base of his eyes will be. And of course, eyes are round, so we're going to round them up just like this. Now, when an eye is on the far side of the head that's turned, it's actually going to be a little bit smaller because it's turning in perspective. When something is further away, like this, it actually looks a little bit smaller when it's kind of flat. So that farther eye is just going to be a little bit smaller than the one in front. And since we're in this area, I want to just kind of naturally, I'm going to draw just the top of the nose. That's going to connect right here from the corner of the inside of that eye. And I'm going to have a line just reach out this far. See how far it comes out from the head? Just about that far. And eventually the character starts to evolve out. And you can start to see it a little bit better. And that definitely helps. All right. What I want to do now is start looking at some of the angles of the head. If you notice, his head actually has a bit of a point to it at the top here. So we're going to keep that in mind. If you notice also, the sides of his head actually come down almost straight. It's not a perfect circle. It's almost straight, up and down here, up and down here. Like it's almost like a diamond. And then same thing with the cheeks. Comes in straight a bit here too. So we're going to do that. We're going to just draw a little bit of a point at the top of that circle. And it's going to come down on the other side too. And then we're going to straighten out the sides of the head. I'm drawing some straight lines going down. Now it does get a little bit wider at the bottom, so almost like it's a camping tent, where the bottom of these two shapes would be right there. And then, remember looking back at our reference, how it comes down and straightens out like a V shape at the bottom of that head. We're going to do that. Remember, draw really lightly. That's just pulling in the general shape of the head. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to start working a bit more on that muzzle and the jaw. See how wide it is and how much it actually jets out, especially when he's talking, right like this. So I'm going to drop from, let's see, where does it start here? Right around the corner of the eye. Okay, so what I'm going to do, now watch what I do. I'm going to draw a shape that comes down, out just a little bit, and it's going to drop below the shape that we started. I'm going to flatten it out. This is going to be the bottom of his jaw. The other side. Real lightly. This is the tricky part, so I'll study a little bit. Again, don't worry if it's not looking perfect. Practice makes perfect. These characters aren't easy to draw by any means. As a matter of fact, if we were to draw this for the actual film, it could take up to an hour just to do one drawing. When you consider there's about 12 to 24 drawings per second, an 8-hour day isn't even going to give you a full second's worth of animation. All right, so from here we're going to break away and we're going to jump into the ears. Let's look at those ears. Those ears are huge, like Mickey Mouse ears. And they're coming off the side of his head. And the whole thing actually has a bit of a diamond shape from ears to jaw. So we're going to do that. We're going to bring these ears out. And watch what I do. Just like that. Just like this. And they're almost a little more angular than they would be round. But we're going to start out with a round shape. Do fill details as we go. Find those shapes. Start out nice and sketchy this far. Squiggly lines. And just to get the character a little more grounded, I want to start drawing in the neck. So the neck, of course, would actually come out around the back side of the head, which would be right around here. But watch what I do. Watch where I put this in. I'm going to have that neck start right back here, and then another line right here. And it'll look like it's coming out the bottom of his chin, but remember, it's actually coming out the other side of his neck, the side of the head. So right there. Naturally, the thing I want to start working on now is his expression. We do want to have him smiling. I love the way his cheeks just start pushing up towards his eyes. So right around here, where we have that break, I'm going to push that line up just a little bit more. I'm going to make a curve. That's going to be the smile going into his cheek. Right here. It'll make more sense when I continue on here. So you can always go back to that part. Now his front of his mouth actually kind of has a cleft in it underneath the tip of the nose. See how it kind of goes up and then back down, almost like it's his muzzle has a kind of a lip, a little bit of a point there. So we're going to do that. Right around the same length of the nose is what we're going to do. We're going to add a little break in that line, right here. Almost looks like he's frowning, but he won't be. Okay, go for that. Now we're going to finish that smile. We are going to wrap it around from the inside of that cheek. Curved line. Right there. And you wouldn't see that smile as much on the other side because the nose is in the way, so we can start adding a little detail. The side of the muzzle might jut out just a little bit. It's a technique called squash and stretch. When you smile, your upper lip kind of goes up into your nose a little bit, so it kind of squishes. That means the side of his muzzle might push out just a little bit too. So it's part of the thing when you do animation. If he's going to go, what? And his jaw drops down, that all might stretch out. But when he's smiling, it might squish up. Okay, now what I'm going to do is polish up a little bit of that jaw. So, actually, no, we're going to leave it here. We're going to leave that right there. We're going to come back to that. Let's go ahead and do the eyes. Now, those eyes, right now, we're going to angle those eyes in. Whenever we want the character looking forward, it's always kind of good to have his eyes as if they're looking at the tip of his nose. So not cross-eyed, but just focused. So we're going to draw some circles right like this, and they're going to be about this large inside the eye socket. And go a little angular too. At the top of the eyes, you can get a little bit more flat on those lines, and then a little more flat on the outside too. That'll kind of help capture some of the style of the character, the style of the film. Every film we worked on had totally different looks from it. Aladdin was real thick and thin, curvy lines with spirals. Lion King was a little more organic, like all the characters looked like mountains. Really, Pocahontas, everything was really angular, like really hard angles on the shoulders and the cheeks. Okay, now I want to jump back into the middle of the ears. And you notice how these ears here, the inside of the ear really flaps down and really curves over into the front here. So we're going to take advantage of that. And almost, it starts out, look how far down it starts. It actually meets the corner of his eye right here. So that's a good thing to think about when we place that. Right around here, where the corner of his eye would be, where we're going to kind of keep the start of that flap. It's going to wrap around just like this. Just like this. And there's a color shape that kind of wraps around the inside of the ear. It's not really a part of his ear shape, but it is a bit of a color. All right, and then for some details, since we kind of, at this point, we have the basics down, what we're going to do is we're going to start to clean him up. And that's when we can start maneuvering some of our lines in and out and kind of maybe polish it. Since we don't have the luxury of an eraser, which you could use, there's nothing wrong with erasing your lines when you're at home practicing. But when you're in a situation like this, just drawing a little bit darker, it kind of pushes that background drawing back just a little bit more, and also it kind of looks a little cool because people love it when they see the underdrawing. So I'm going to go back to the nose. Another thing you can keep in mind when you're working and cleaning up the drawing is you have these the clipboards. The clipboard allows you to move the page around. So you can actually take it and turn it. Now I'll tell you why you want to do that. Your wrist has a natural bend to it. So if I'm going to be cleaning up the top of his hair or the top of his head like this, I can just turn that and take advantage of the fact that my hand moves in a natural way. So feel free to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go back down to the nose. I'm actually going to start to clean up that shape. Now it's going to be a straight line that has a little bit of a curve at the top. And then on the outside, it's going to taper out. Look what I do, and you do it. Just like that. So it's actually a little wider. And then when it comes down towards the bottom of the nose, it's going to be the thickest right in the center. So that line is going to do that. Going to do that. And then we can add a little nostrils. Just a little curve right here. And then I want to go out and take the outside of that muzzle. A little cleft in his cheek. And his mouth. Clean up, going into the cheek. And now when I work on the bottom of the jaw, I'm actually going to take the line, and I'm not going to bend it out, just a little bit like this. See what I did there? I'm actually connecting it to the bottom of the head just a bit more. And when I draw the outside of the bottom of his jaw, watch what I do. I'm actually going to take this line now, and I'm actually going to turn it out just a bit here. See, now I was going in earlier. I'm going to fine-tune and finesse that shape so it actually comes out. So it's almost like he has an underbite, because lions do. Their bottom jaws are actually quite big. And I'm actually going to add a little fur texture, like this. A little squiggly line, squiggly line. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and clean up that mask a bit. And his mask is very stylized. It's a really harsh line, almost like it's sculpted into his head. So I'm going to do this. And then, when we do the inside of the mask for his eyes, it's actually going to go back just a bit. So on the top, when you connect these two shapes here, it's actually going to be further apart than at the bottom. So watch what I do. See, it's actually a little closer at the bottom than it is at the top. And then, straight lines at the top of that mask. And another thing I can do at this point is I can add his eyebrows. That's when we do just a little bit of squiggly lines, thickening up that shape. Just to give him some eyebrows. And then connect the outside. Now his eyes, of course, have eyelashes, eyelids, so that's going to be a little bit darker at the top. And you notice how I kind of brush in those lines to make it a little bit thicker? It helps. It's like coloring in. Go round out inside of the eye. The bottom of his eye is going to be rounded, of course. But we still got some nice angles going in there. Inside of the eye. And of course his pupils are round, straight up round. Nothing fancy about that. But look how large they are inside the pupil, inside the eye itself. Okay, let's go ahead on the far side of the face here. We're going to take this line, and when we come down to the cheek, we're going to add a little bit more of that fur. And it's going to break, tuck in behind his muzzle. And on the other side too, I'm going to add a little bit of fur. Just going to tuck in behind his jaw. We're going to add a little bitty line right here, just to show where the bridge of his nose meets his head. One more line we definitely want to add in to show the clarity of his nose and keep the design. It's right from the corner of the pupil here. We're going to connect this down to the outside of the nose. See the line I'm drawing right now? I'm going to connect that in. He also has a design inside the eyes, which is unique to this film. And it's not really anything we've done on any other film. But we have these lines here that goes from his tear duct straight through to the corner of his, to the base of his muzzle. So we're going to do one there, and then a straight line across. Watch this line very carefully. There, right there. It's really nice chiseled look, and it's not something we've done in any other film, but it looks really cool. It has a very dynamic feel to it. Okay, now we're going to do the ears. Finish these up. I'm going to curve that line up. I'm going to do some more fur texture. It's going to go straight again. This is called straight against curve, where it's kind of a mixture between the two. It's going to go down. It's going to break again right around here. Straight. Then break one more time. So we got 1, 2, 3. Here, Nala and Simba do look really similar. One thing that's going to help to make this Simba is on the top of the head here, you've got a little tuft of hair, so watch what I do. There you go. I think that's one of the things that will definitely help make Simba Simba, not Mickey and Minnie have similar problems. They kind of don't look alike when they don't have the eyelashes. Okay, same thing with the other side. I'm going to add a little bit of fur in the corner of the ear. Straighten that curved line out, have a break there. One long curved line here, and a break here. Then back up. And we're going to darken in that line right here in the center. And in the center. And keep this line light, because again, it's more color than anything else. If you want to get really fancy, throw in a couple of fur lines right inside the ears. I'm going to darken in the outside of the line for the neck. And we can even start to, there's a color separation on his neck and chest. Like that. There's a slight color separation from the corner of his cheek going down to his jaw, so we're going to do a light line right there. And then his whiskers, we're going to do 4 lines that just kind of shoot out from the side of his muzzle like this. What should I do? You got to kind of feel this part out. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And that same thing. Whoosh, whoosh. You got to make the sounds too. All right, so now we're at this part here. We can go ahead and start now. Take our pencil and lightly shade in inside of the eye. A little bit more clarity. And there you go. And that's how we draw a character like Simba, or any of the characters, just by looking and learning and studying and practicing over and over and over again. And eventually, you'll get better and better and better and better and better. That's always the goal, especially with me. I've been drawing these characters for 30 years, and every time I draw a character, I want them to get better every single time. That's the best thing about being an artist. You never stop improving. So now, one more thing you got to do before you finish. You got to sign your artwork right down here in the lower right-hand corner. Just like that. Okay, and remember, when you go home and you practice, you have the luxury of a pencil eraser. But this time, it's like a pop quiz. You're going to do it that way. So take your artwork, show it above your head. Hank, show it up. Let me take a look at this. Wow, whoa. Wow, okay, very cool. Very cool, nice. What? Are you kidding me? This is not an easy character to draw, by the way. And you guys have nailed this. Okay, I'm really impressed. Okay, a lot of you are obviously drawn Simba many times before. This is pretty clear. All right, well, give yourself a big round of applause, because you guys are amazing new artists. And you can see some of the painstaking details that we put into some of these characters. So continue to practice, continue to have fun, and enjoy the rest of your day here at the International Festival of the Arts. Don't forget to drop off your pencils. If you don't want to keep them with one of our cast members, please return your clipboard, but do keep your artwork. Great, thanks, have a great day, enjoy this cooler weather.
Friends, thank you for joining us for this presentation of the Animation Academy. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day here at the Epcot